Welcome back to Central Valley Talk. We've been here since 2008, talking to people of interest in Fresno, the Valley, the nation, the world, artists, authors, musicians, businesses, cool businesses, places and things in the Valley. Our next guest actually lives in the Valley, and he's an author. David Borofka. You live out in Clovis.
That's right.
You're originally from Oregon.
Well, actually, I went to school in Oregon, but I grew up in the Los Angeles area.
Oh, L.A. So you're a Californian,
Yes.
born, and you just went to Oregon for college?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Then Alabama for grad school.
That's right.
I got your whole story. The interview's over, you guys. Thanks. Now, I always say this, congratulations for writing. Well, anybody could write a book. Few people can finish writing a book, which you've done 3 of them.
Right.
And novels, short stories, and two short stories.
2 short story collections. My first book was a story collection that won the Iowa Short Fiction Award in 1996, so a while ago. Then the second book was a novel, The Island, which came out with a small independent press, McMurray and Beck, in 1997. And then it took me 25 years for book number 3.
Yeah. Now, I read the books cover to cover, every single word, and I get to this point, Johns Hopkins University Press.
Right.
That's pretty prestigious.
Yeah, they've done a short fiction and poetry series for about the last 40 years, and I was thrilled when they said yes to doing my book. And again, after waiting for 25 years for this book, that was really the cherry on the top.
By the way, and I want to talk to you about what's in the book in a minute, but where can people get it?
They can get it pretty much anywhere, primarily online. They can get it either through the Johns Hopkins Press store or Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Any online retailer will have it.
I just automatically go to Amazon because I'm not real technologically well-versed. I'm just so used to Amazon, click, and it's at my house the next day. So, but it's on Amazon. By the way, this one is called The Longing for Impossible Things. Let's look at the cover on the screen there. That's the one. The Longing for Impossible Things. Now, I always promise authors, I'm going to read the book before you come on. I never get to, but I got through a few of the stories here.
Great.
And the first one I love because it's very local.
Yes, it is. It takes place in Fresno, actually outside of Fresno. For years, I taught out at Reedley College, and so I drove from Clovis to Reedley every day. And a lot of the kind of the geography of the story takes place on Kings Canyon Highway and some of the side streets.
A little bit of Big Garden.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Now, I asked you, let's come back to us now on the visuals. I asked you when you came in if these are true stories because I believed it.
Right.
I mean, there are really some little details praising Thompson's seedless grape vineyards and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've never done anything like that. I never went to law school.
I almost got through law school or went to law school and didn't quite make it.
Right. So those are inventions, and I think the testimony of any fiction writer's ability has to do with making things up and making other people believe it. So that makes me feel very happy, actually, that you said that.
Fresno people at least will believe that because real places, Big Garden, unincorporated area inside of the city of Fresno and things like that. So,
right.
So now, tell us a little bit. We're going to look at the covers of your other books and just introduce us to those. Is this the second book or the first?
That's the second book. The Island, as I said, was published by McMurray and Beck in 1997. It's kind of a coming-of-age story. The narrator of that book is a 14-year-old boy in 1968 who's sort of forced, because his parents are going elsewhere, to go live with friends up in the Portland area.
Your Portland story.
It's a Portland story,
Voice from a 14-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I was a kid in that era, so I'm going to read that one because I'd love to read about that era. Now, this other one was your first book, I think. Right.
The Hints of His Mortality. Like I said, that was the Iowa Short Fiction Award winner. The stories in that book are in some ways very similar to the stories in this newest book. I think a lot of the characters are fumbling with many of the same issues.
Now, can I ask how old you were when you did that one? And you won the Iowa Fiction Award.
Right. So in 1996, I was 42.
42. So.
Yeah.
And what did you teach at Reedley College?
I taught English.
Oh, English. Very good.
Primarily composition, but also creative writing and literature and pretty much anything I got asked to teach.
Now, the very first book that you won the Iowa Fiction Award, short stories, and what's the gist of some of them?
Well, like I say, a lot of the stories in both that collection and this collection have to do with characters who have some issue with faith and the idea that there's something larger out there that they don't quite know or understand, but they'd really like to be able to make contact with it. And it's a little bit like that phenomenon of searching for a word in the back of your mind and it's on the tip of your tongue and you never quite get it out. And I think that's the experience that a lot of the characters in both of these books have.
I was going to say I saw some of that faith search in this book, too.
Sure,
So.
yes.
Now, do you think people need to read your books in order, or does it matter?
Doesn't really matter, no. In fact, at this point, I think it'd probably be easier to start with the newest one.
The newest one, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was an easy read. I enjoyed what I read of it, and it got me to the point where I'm going to read the whole thing. And I told you I never read fiction, but I'm going to.
Okay,
You converted me, David.
Very good. Very good.
Now, are you still at Reedley? Are you retired?
I've retired as of 3 years ago, and in fact, this book is in some ways the result of being able to retire and then being able to write.
So you wrote this mostly after the retirement?
Well, the stories
kind of a
are
crossover?
they're some of the stories are 20 and more years old. The last 3 stories in the book are the ones that are the most recent. Okay. So those are the newest. But it is kind of a, you know, when I look at the book, it's a little bit of a time capsule of where I've been for the last 25 years.
Now let me ask. I'd like to ask a little about process. Mm-hmm. And do you just sit down and start writing, or you have a process?
Well, I think the first part of the process is sitting down, and sometimes the process, too many times, probably would require a seatbelt to stay sitting down and to keep kind of staring into the blank screen of the computer. But
I was going to say computer.
Yeah,
you're not one of those guys. No, I do it all on the yellow pad.
No. You know, I mean, I did. The process of writing has changed. You know, when I was in college, it was longhand. Then got to grad school and I was doing everything on a manual typewriter. Right. And then, you know, a couple of decades later, everything is on a computer. And that inevitably changes the way you write, and it changes the way you edit.
Oh, my gosh, it must be wonderful.
It is phenomenally better, if for no other reason than the fact that I could never read my own handwriting. So I'd write something out by longhand, and then the typing process was always a bit of a guess, but that was part of the editorial process too.
Right. That's fascinating. And yeah, I was telling some kids the other day when I was in college, not only did we not have computers, but we had to put a quarter in the it was electric typewriter.
Right,
after
right.
your time, maybe. We put a quarter in, you type for 20 minutes.
Right.
It's hoping you don't have to put a second quarter in.
And that's, you know, when I was just after college, when I was first trying to really write seriously, I thought, you know, this manual typewriter business is really slowing me down. Yeah. I need an electric. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go rent. Remember the old IBM Selectrics with the ball head type? I thought I'm gonna go rent a Selectric, and I did. I rented a Selectric for a month. I couldn't use it because that hum just kept saying, "Come on, let's go. Come on, when are you gonna write? When are you gonna write? When are you gonna write?" And I couldn't do it. It just was
interesting back then that it's a big deal to buy a new typewriter.
Sure.
I mean, now you go to get a new computer for $200. You know?
Can, sure.
And so powerful.
Yeah. So it is a markedly different experience, the writing that I did, you know, in my 20s as opposed to now. And you know, I'm a lazy person by nature, so this is kind of right in my wheelhouse.
Right in your wheelhouse. Do you have more coming?
I hope so. Actually, I do. I have a novel that will be coming out in another year. A novel called The End of Good Intentions with Fomite Press. So that'll be.
Oh, it's already got a publisher.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, you write every day?
I wish I could say I do. I had been up until, I think I mentioned on the way in here, I had a knee replacement. This is my second. So I've had about 6 months now of not writing every day because I've been more concerned with walking. And I am going to be getting back to it here soon.
It's good to hear that. Advice I always give to young people is if you're a writer, you write. If you're a baseball player, play baseball all day.
Right.
My first job was I was a classical guitarist. And believe me, I spent 8 or 10 hours a day doing what I did. And so if you're a writer, write. Sit down and write.
That's that, and I tell students that all the time as well. You're a writer when you write. You're a reader when you read. You're a student when you're studying.
Yeah.
I was a teacher when I taught, and the only way that you get better at writing is to read and to write and to just keep pushing along.
Keep doing it, yeah. But read, and start with this book by David Borofka. Did I say it right?
That's right.
And it's called A Longing for Impossible Things.
Right. And I don't know if you would like, but the title comes from this epigraph by Fernando Pessoa that I fell across it, when I was putting this iteration of the collection together, and I just loved it. And so there's no story in here with that title, but I think it kind of encapsulates what the whole book is about. The feelings that hurt most, the emotions that sting most, are those that are absurd, the longing for impossible things, precisely because they are impossible. Nostalgia for what never was, the desire for what could have been, regret over not being someone else, dissatisfaction with the world's existence. All these halftones of the soul's consciousness create in us a painful landscape, an eternal sunset of what we are.
Wow. Last thing you want our viewers to know?
Oh, man. What I would like them to know, I suppose, is take a taste of one or more of the stories, and hopefully that'll lead to more.
Right. By the way, Christmas is coming up. What are you going to give your friends, your dad, your uncle? Another necktie? No. Order this book, A Longing for Impossible. Order 20 of them and hand them out at Christmas.
That's right. So, sounds good.
David, I'm honored you came. A real live author. And we appreciate you doing that.
Thank you so
much.
And
I will finish your book, and then I'll have you back again. I'll ask you a million questions.
Good. Love to do it.
We'll be back with more Central Valley Talk right after this.